Good afternoon. It's December 31st, and we're getting ready to come into a new year. So, I wanted to share some revelation that I've been getting regarding some different keys that I think we could use as we're moving into regional transformation. I know I talked about the Decapolis and the Megalopolis that are part of how the structure in this glory dome can affect who we are and how we move forth into it. How do we work together in that? I mean, I just laid a little bit of groundwork on that. A few things about redemptive gifts and understanding that. But today, what I wanted to talk about, especially because I really believe this is relevant to us moving into the new year. And if we can get some of these mindsets or get some of these keys and begin to factor those in as we walk forward into this new horizon of prototypes and um, you know things that we haven't seen before, going beyond. I mean, there's all kind of phrasing in this, seeing things like we haven't seen before, knowing things we know that we don't know yet, all those kind of um, little lines and ways that God is speaking to us. This is one that I feel like is very important, and I found it through a man named Jamie Winship. He wrote a book called Living Fearless. And if you haven't read that book, I mean, do it. It's one of the best books I know about identity and how for God to show you what your identity is from his eyes. And it's profound. But in that, I had a friend that sent me a video of Jamie, because last year I was going to Indonesia, and Jamie and his wife Donna were missionaries there in Indonesia. And so she sent him to me for some of the insights and revelation that he had. And it just has been revolutionary as far as the principles and the understanding of some things that he has brought forward. And one of these is about a worldview. And Jamie talks about how there is a worldview. There's two worldviews. Pretty much everything fits in those two worldviews. And one is the worldview of enough and the worldview of scarcity. Either we're in enough, believing enough, or we're in a world of scarcity. So I want to jump into that for just a few minutes, and I'm going to make some shorter videos on some of these keys of regional transformation. And today on this short one, I want to talk about these two worldviews. So the worldview of enough aligns with how heaven operates from overflow, trust, and abundance. The view flows from the heart of God. It anchors in his character and the way he provides for his people. So it's all from him. The core values are: God is generous, he's never lacking, and he's never late. And it also talks about he has all the resources, and they will never run out. I mean, we do have this mindset um, that there is a global shortage. And in reality, there isn't. God can make things come forth out of nowhere because that's who he is. And so many of the times we see the land not responding in the way that God created it to respond because the land is cursed. That's another video. But in this perspective right here, I want to come across with God is not skimpy. God is the God of the impossible. I'm learning from other areas of walking with the Lord, that the Lord invites us into things that are impossible. He gives us words of revelation that just seem impossible. How could this ever happen? Because he is the God of the impossible, and he is the God of more than enough. And his provision is tied to relationships. not performance. That's why he gives us insight, or he tells us through prophets, things that he wants done, things that he can bring forth from the land, ways that he can do and be more than enough for all of us. And I think in every one of our lives individually, we know that God has been more than enough in many situations where we thought there was no other way. It was just going to be horrible. It's going to be the worst. I mean, we got close to bankruptcy one time, and God was more than enough. And so in that, it shapes our life when we have a worldview of believing that every time God says something, there's enough. And you dream bigger because you know God can supply it. You give freely because you know there's more where it came from. You fear less because you don't make mistakes based off of being fearful about the future or being fearful what could come. You take risk when the Spirit leads you to take a risk, when you come out of a worldview that believes that there's enough. And you see people as gifts, not competitors. That means there's enough for this watchman to be a watchman. There's enough revelation for this watchman to be a watchman. There's enough revelation for this apostle to be the apostle for this. There's more than enough of God where we can come together and be one together instead of competing with one another, because we know that God has created us for a purpose and it fits with others, and there will be enough. It's very different. And I think, most of my life, I think I've lived in scarcity. I think many of us have been fearful, or we get fearful. So I want to touch on that for a minute and then bring them back together. Okay, so the mindset of scarcity is rooted in fear, broken trust, and the lie that God is not enough. Like he'll only do so much for you. I used to have a mindset of the Lord, father left as a baby, didn't get to know him, all those had father issues. So my perspective of growing as a child and getting saved and coming to Jesus was, well, because I had didn't have a father, was, he's God's so busy, he has the whole world to take care of, and my little needs don't, they're just so small compared to all that God is responsible for. So I lived in this place of, not of mistrust, of not really giving him an understanding that he can be the God of everything I need, as well as the God for the next person. There isn't a lack of his affection. There isn't a lack of his love. There isn't a lack of resources. There isn't a lack of money. And money is really kind of one of the smallest areas. There isn't a lack of revelation. There isn't a lack of his ability to inform you and to give you the pieces of whatever journey he has you on and how you connect. That's not who he is. But many of us and most of us live from a place of fear. I think the media and spending lots and lots of time on platforms and listening to a lot of different people speaking can cause fear. In 2020, the Lord cut me off from media. It was the night of the election, and that was a night uh, with Biden and Trump, and we didn't have an answer that night. When I went up to go to bed, the Lord said, "You won't watch media anymore. You won't watch it. I'll bring you what it is that I want you to see." And he has been so faithful in that for the last now almost 6 years. We'll be starting on the 6th year tomorrow, of bringing me what it was in the media or from Instagram and some of those platforms of what it was that he was moving me into. So I don't get weighed down with fear from all the different things that can be there. It's enough to overtake you. I get messed up what's just headlines. So it was a kind thing that he did for me. So the core ideas of scarcity are: resources are limited, That means I have to hold on to the resources that I have, or I have to hold on to the people that are a part of my ministry, or hold on to whatever it is, fill in the blank, because there's just a limited amount. And that's not true, but we think that way a lot. You must protect what you have because who knows when it'll be gone. If someone else succeeds, it threatens you. That should never be the purpose. It's always evolving. I should be looking more for what someone else can become more than what I'm becoming, while somebody else is worried more about what I become as somebody else's. You see, we're looking and allowing for others and making room for others, that actually advances us. But many times we live in a worldview of scarcity, that there isn't enough. And so what we do is protect, or we believe that if somebody else is moving somewhat in an area that we're moving in, and they seem to be excelling, or what we think is overlapping them, or overtaking them, then we make them out to be competitors. That's part of scarcity. And then there won't be enough to go around. I mean, we can see that in nations that it looks like that. How you can look at Zimbabwe. It was the breadbasket of the world, and now the land is so dry. But God, I am telling you, in the days ahead, God is beginning to speak about how he is going to take these curses off of the land and begin to restore land that has not produced, and bring it back to the fullness of the DNA that he purposed for it. So it's an exciting time, to look at things from these perspectives, but we don't want to be caught any longer, and especially as we move into this new year, caught in a mindset of scarcity. We want to begin to come out of that mindset, and the way that it can shape our life with scarcity is like it causes you to hold back instead of giving. You worry about the future. Am I going to have enough? What's going to happen? You compare yourself with others. You fight for position or influence. We don't have to do that. There is enough for all of us, and we have appointed relationships, appointed times to be places. It's if we can come into this place again of realizing there is enough, we'll begin to realize, hey, we're all a part of one. There's enough for all, and we will advance in ways like never before. It also can cause you to hesitate when God asks you to step out, because you're depending on yourself in many ways, or you're looking at what he's asking you to do. And more than likely, when God's really calling you to do something, it's impossible to do. So you're already living in a scarcity mindset. There's not enough. How's he ever going to make this happen? I mean, he's had a word for Neil and I that, you're going to get a ranch. God's just going to give you a ranch. And we're just like, yeah, like, how's that going to happen? I mean, and we've been pondering that with the Lord on how, and trying to align with some of these words that he's given us. And I'm going to go into that on another video, but it's that place of us coming into, hey, if God said it, he can do it. He has more than enough. He is so creative in the way that he does stuff. He wants us to step into that creativity with him. And one of the ways, if not a main way, is to start with, we have to believe there's enough. And enough means there's enough for all. So, we don't want to be those that hesitate when God calls us. And many of us have calls, and many of us know in the days ahead, what we've been talking about a little bit here is like, we're creating something that hasn't been created before. And we've got to be able to allow each other to have the pieces and places that need to be given, so that we can move forward as one. That unity and diversity, I did a video on that, and I'll probably repeat some of that because it's so key to us moving forward. And this mindset or worldview worldview of knowing that God has enough for all of us will continue to keep us looking outward at others instead of inwardly focusing on ourselves because of coming out of scarcity. With the enough worldview in the land, it opens up regions to blessings. It causes there to come because it's a giving mindset. It's a mindset that believes God can do more, and it opens up the abundance of blessing. It breaks cycles of poverty and hopelessness. I think I've stated before, down in the southeast region of Texas, it is probably the most poverty stricken area, I mean, of the greater, of the state of Texas. And yet God has made promises. It's going to be the area that brings wealth into the kingdom. How is that possible? Well, it got to start with us believing a mindset of God has more than enough, and he can take an impossible situation of a region that looks more like poverty than looking like a multi-billion dollar land. I don't know how to say that right, but what I'm saying is just bringing it out of poverty and believing it could be the most productive land that there is, and bring forth finances, bring forth economies, bring forth commerce, all the things. And I'm believing for it. I'm believing those words that God has said and believing those will come forth. So it breaks the cycle of poverty and hopelessness. It can release creativity, generosity, and innovation. That's where that innovation can come forth out of a worldview of enough, which will cause things to happen. It can cause things at the port. It could cause resources to come out of the ground. There's a prophetic word that was released, and I think it was maybe by Tommy years back, and I think it 19 or something. I didn't even know who he was really. And I was like, this guy's something. It was called the Texan. But he was talking about that there was resources that were going to be found in the ground that we haven't even had purpose for them yet to be used. It didn't have to do with oil. It wasn't minerals that were down there. It was a source that we have never even discovered yet, a resource. And I'm still waiting to see that. But that's going to come out of a worldview of enough, not scarcity. So enough says, God is my source and he is more than enough. God is my source and he is more than enough. God is enough in the southeast region to turn it from poverty into one of the kingdom advancers with the wealth to give to this nation. It can be that. And so we really want to come into that sentence, even for our own personal selves. Lord God, you are the source and you are enough because you have it all. The scarcity worldview on land fuels it. It causes there to be division. It causes competition, corruption, and territorial fears. So we separate from one another. It creates spiritual ceilings where we can't get above, we can't seem to break through to have the breakthrough in areas. Right now, that's part of what we'll do down there in the Southeast is begin to find where there is scarcity on the land. That goes for any area. And it attracts systems that control and create intimidation and causing there to be those that say, hey, you've got to stay under, or you've got to do it this way. It has the good old boys structure. There's some words that were released when I went to Orange about, there was families that have controlled the area for a long time, and that God is saying, I'm doing away with that. I'm going to begin to break off those mindsets and those influential people and structures that have held on to a scarcity mindset that kept things only for themselves. It wasn't outward looking, it was inward looking. And scarcity says, I'm on my own and I might lose what I have. So I've got to protect what I have. So a scarcity mindset says, I am on my own and I might lose what I have. And so I just desire that each of us grab a hold before we jump into this new year, that we would begin to be people of a mindset of enough, more than enough, a worldview of enough, that God is my source and He is more than enough for any circumstance, any place that He's taking us, any impossible dream that He's putting into us to take the next step. Not that we're not afraid or unsure of where we're going, but knowing that God is more than enough for anything that we're moving into, and that we would move out, or that He would help us identify and shine light on those areas where we depend more on scarcity, competing with one another, causing friction, divisions, having that ceiling, and instead be a people that can come in and break through those worldviews and begin to steward the land, or to begin to steward environments or relationships that can build into us all having a piece and being a part of something that is bigger than ourselves. So I just bless you today with a mindset and a worldview that God is more than enough, and to remove every structure and every area in our lives that is fueled by fear and causes us to live in scarcity. I bless y'all and see you soon. Bye.